So
Okay, so perfect.
I've hit
Perfect.
I've hit the record button. So you have the questions in front of you. So if you can just feel free to go through these and just describe them as is. And if there's anything, maybe I might interject. But if there's anything sensitive you don't want to state, please feel free not to. There's nothing.
Good. Then let's get started
Please.
with question number one. What percentage of timber comes from supplier versus Faber-Castell's plantation certified contract forest? And what are the current Faber-Castell systems in place for fraud detection or data manipulation? Okay, the percentage is around 50% is coming um, from own plantations, and 50% is coming from is purchased ready pencil slats. Yeah?
Yes. Okay.
And wait a second, am I right?
Well, the average is fine. This is average is fine.
It's 50-50,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
And
50 is fine. Because let me just say this just validates the need because we're hoping that you have other than only Faber-Castell plantation, because
no,
then
I just had to calculate in my head, but it's 50-50, approximately 50-50. But it is just changing, according our production level, because the volume that we get from our plantation is a constant volume, and sometimes our production level is increasing. So that means we cannot increase the forest from one day to the other. This means we have to increase the purchased volumes. If we are talking about our own plantation, that means we are producing logs in the forest, which go to one of our own sawmills. There they are processed to slats. And if we purchase wood for our production, then we are purchasing ready pencil slats, which are ready for production.
Okay. So so I guess the question is, you have fraud detection or illegal, because there's always this issue of illegal timber, which is our concern, and I'm sure also Faber-Castell's. So you have systems in place for fraud detection and data manipulation.
Systems in place. So the system is like we have a professional purchasing teams in the countries where we are producing wood-cased pencils. This means in the beginning we are auditing our suppliers. This means we know the production conditions, and we're trying to collect as much data as possible from their source, where they get their lumber from.
Okay.
We are trying to get as deep as possible, so means starting with a allowance for harvesting, and we are trying to control other documents as transportation bills, transportation records. This is just we do in a kind of a statistic way, where we try to find mistakes. And but from our experience, we can see very fast if there is illegal wood in the game or not.
Okay. Perfect.
We are checking this because also for the FSC certification we have to prove this, and also in case of if wood comes to Europe, we have to prove that also for European timber regulations.
Right. How many suppliers do you have that you're dealing with, roughly?
This is pending on. So if you're just speaking about the suppliers for slats, it's a variation between 2 and 5.
2 to 5. Okay. Okay.
It's pending on market situation.
Right. Understood. That answers that question, number 1. I think we can skip number 2.
Okay. Does Faber-Castell have any concerns regarding illegal timbers? What are exactly the concerns, if any? Yes, we have concerns regarding illegal timbers. But that means sometimes, for example, we know that volumes have an FSC certification, but if we look at the origin of the wood, and if we combine these facts which we see at a supplier with our forestry knowledge, then we know that sometimes the origin cannot be true, or if it's in a border, that the origin is in a place where there is a border between two countries, and we know that there is a cross-border dealing, which is not always legal in these countries. There we have our concerns because we have absolutely no chance to prove if a log, is coming from this side or the other side from the border.
Okay, and that answers the second part of that question: full visibility, transparency in every supply chain stage. Okay.
Okay. Are there concerns reliability as relating to FSC certification? Yes, sometimes we also have doubts with FSC because we know that especially in Asia, there's a lot of corruption. And out of my experience as a forest engineer working in international projects, I know that also in FSC, that even at the auditor side and on the certification bodies, there are cases where there was bribing and where it was possible to buy legalized certificates for wood on the market.
Okay, thank you.
Therefore, we have doubts in the FSC. And one other thing is where we start becoming concerns about FSC is FSC is becoming too dominant. So FSC is becoming a monopolist on the market,
right?
And this is also how they behave.
Okay,
so
understood.
For just an example, in one of my projects where I was working in Indonesia, there was a message from FSC that it would be better if you get FSC certified, otherwise we will put you on a blacklist of WWF. So also, it's I don't tell you that this is the regular base how they work, but even in a system at FSC, there is space for something like this.
Yes. Okay. Understood.
Good. Does Faber-Castell have full visibility, transparency on every supply chain stage? Yes. I mean, in case if we are taking the logs from our own plantation, sure, then we have the full transparency from the origin of the seed for the tree until the end of the sled factory. That's clear.
Right.
In the volumes, and this is also documented, and there's also these operations are also FSC certified, and we have an independent monitoring system with a company called Umweltdata, where we do the latest type of forestry monitoring with a 3D scanning system, and on this database we are evaluating our volumes, which at least show us are we sustainable or not.
Right.
For the volumes which we purchase, as I told you before, we try to collect as much information as possible. We are doing audits at the producers or in the companies which deliver to us, but we don't have transparency on every supply chain. That's impossible.
Okay. Okay.
How does Faber-Castell track its timber under chain of command or certification? You mean chain of custody? You mean? Or?
Yeah, chain of custody. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Again, our own timber or own logs is clear that it's coming from our own plantation, and we have the process in our hand, and that's documented. But here, the COC, this is exactly why it's called chain of custody. Means for us, the chain of custody starts at the point where we purchase the wooden product, means the sled from the factory. And if they are FSC certified, they also have to prove their chain of custody. And that's exactly what I said before, that we are trying to collect as much information as possible, which proves their chain of custody. So that's the same process what I explained before. This is what we try to do as deep as possible. First, for our own interest, because this is our standard. And second, we need this information for European timber regulations.
Got it.
Good.
Understood.
How does Faber-Castell minimize risk when the product is in transit, theft, mishandling, and improper storage of products? Yeah, this is the point. This is a very, very tricky question. So when the product is in transit, this means, okay, it does just make sense to talk about the volumes which we purchase. Means ready slats which we buy mostly from suppliers in Asia. That means the Incoterm, how we buy it, is free on board. That means
Yes.
The containers are delivered into a harbor and put on the ship, and therefore it's our business.
Right.
We know how long the containers have to travel, and we know the conditions we have very, very strict specs how we buy the wood. That means it described how, for example, one critical measure is the moisture content, which can be by transportation. So this means in our spec, for each supplier that we have a special spec. That means that when we are there, as we are from, we are wood and forestry engineers, we know the climate, and we know what should be the starting moisture content and how much moisture does it take or give up during the transportation process. So based on these factors, we are adapting our specs, how we purchase the lumber. And during the time when the wood is in a container on a ship, we have absolutely no access on it. We have absolutely no transparency what happens. There's nothing that you can do because it's on a ship with other 14,000 containers, so it's there. After it arrived, the containers are immediately deloaded, and the wood and the boxes is coming on in our, we call it acclimatization storage, where the wood is stored by species, by origin, by certification, FSC or PEFC, and we have a kind of quality control which controls if the specs are fulfilled, and then we are waiting for sometimes 6 weeks to 6 months. The wood is in our storage to acclimatize that it reaches the final specs, which are our specs, as we are processing these slats to pencils.
Okay. Got it.
Number 3. Number 3. What is the Faber-Castell timber supply chain process? Does the following represent the correct stages? Marking tree, cutting, stacking tree. Yes, this is exactly representing our process for the volumes which come from our plantations.
Okay. Are there any other stages that you would, if we were creating, as I indicated, this template, you would foresee as being relevant?
I would go further. I would not start at marking trees. I would start already in the nursery where the seed is becoming a little tree, and so this means origin of the seed. This means
origin of the seed. Okay.
Planting, and then forest management. Because just if you have a good forest management, you can do like thinnings, prunings. Then you have the possibility to make a good harvesting, to get a good result.
Understood.
And deliver to factory or sell to customer. This is showing exactly the way how it is. What I would put here in our special case is after sawmill and between sawmill and delivery to factory, I would put in between slat factory, because in a sawmill you are just producing the lumber, and then from the lumber you're producing the slat, which is a very, very highly specialized process.
Right, got it. Okay, so slab factory.
And I don't know if you will be here in Stein once, and then you can come to my office. My office looks like a wood storage, and I can show you the process, and you will understand what it is about.
Okay. Thank you, David.
If you're interested. Good. Is this question answered for you?
Yes, it is. It is perfectly answered.
Then let's go to point 4. Does Faber-Castell own forests or contract plantations go through other major processes before marking the trees? What is the process, if any? What kind of process do you mean?
I think you've answered this already because you mentioned the 3D. process, and you've mentioned that for your plantations, and then you've mentioned the FSC custody chain of custody for non-Faber-Castell plantations. So this is fine.
Okay.
But what we really meant was also looking at after or at some point identifying each tree before the cut, before the harvest, whether there is an actual process in which you mark the tree. I know that you have symbols that you draw on. Is that correct? From our research.
Yes. So the thing is, okay, as we are working on in a plantation forest, so
Yeah.
what we do is we have 3 stages. One is that we planted.
Yeah.
Then the trees started growing, and let's say, for example, on 1 hectare we have 1,200 trees as a start. But you cannot, and one rotation time is about 20 years. So until these 20 years are finished, you cannot have all the 1,200 trees leaving on this area, because this means, if you have 1 plate of food on a table, and you have people around it, in the beginning, all of them have enough food, but by the end of time, as the people are growing, the food is becoming less and less. So this means I have to put my resources on those individuals which are growing well. So we have to do thinnings. So finally, we are doing 2 stages of thinnings, and after that process, so starting with 1,200, at the end of the day, remains 600 to 800 trees per hectare, which are the best, which have the best genes. There, in these places, we are doing the marking. When the rotation is finished, we are just marking the entire area which we clear cut.
I see. Okay.
And then after clear cutting, this area is left for 1 or 2 years, that all the branches which are remaining on the forest, all the waste wood which remains there, is getting rotten. Then we mulch it, then we replant again. But in our, let's say, in our forest balance, we are always sustainable. This is exactly what we do with the 3D scanning thing, that we know how many hectares per year we can cut, that if replant, we are always sustainable, that we do not lose any forest land.
Got it. Okay, that answers that.
Okay. What are the most probable loopholes in the company's supply chain? What do you mean with loopholes?
Well, loopholes here, what are the weak links? In other words, where is it most likely that, and I think you've also answered that, and you've indicated where you have your other 50%.
Yes.
I think you've answered that. That's the most likely loophole, or the weakest point. In other words, the bottleneck or
the weakest point is small suppliers from Asia.
Right.
Personally.
Okay.
Okay. How does the company mark the trees and this method?
You've answered this now.
Which are the mandatory parameters you wish to maintain or secure when marking a tree? Size, age.
I think this is redundant as well.
Yeah, this is redundant as well. I mean, size, age is. No, this is. I think we've talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean this. Yeah. I mean, this new 3D. Until now, we had manual inventories, forest inventories. 3D thing is a completely new thing, and we started this year now, so I don't have any results from that. But we see that this is giving us a complete new possibility to evaluate our forest volumes, and to give some, and to calculate our expectations, to know exactly what will come in the future. That gives us much more. But currently, this is not needed. Okay, number 8. Are all supply chain partners equipped with the technology and know-how required to monitor, track, and record all?
Well, yeah. This is whether or not all your stakeholders, all your partners are in the position to, within the supply chain, ensure visibility, traceability, data.
I would say 50% of our suppliers, yes, 50% not.
Okay, that answers that.
What transparency features does Faber-Castell employ to build greater loyalty and trust and sustainability with their customer? Okay, so first we have a sustainability report in our house.
Yes, we've seen that.
Exactly.
Correct.
And
Yes.
second, we uh, we try to have a regular based communication for this to show what we are doing. For example, with the
Okay.
3D thing, by the end of the year, I already talked to our
Okay.
press team that maybe we will make some short release in some special news or something that we are doing this, and this is the state of the art forestry thing. For example, then also Faber-Castell has a social charter. This means when we are auditing a company, a supplier, we are not just auditing his technical equipment, the origin of the wood. We also look at the working conditions. So, for example, a very, very important thing for us is to avoid child work.
Yes.
It's a very important thing for us. So sometimes even I was there too in Asia in companies where we were asking for the passport.
Yes.
Or SD card of some employee because it seemed to us to be too young. Yeah,
Right.
But
right.
okay,
Right.
but and this supplier which we audited, we didn't take him into our supply. Yeah, because we didn't accept it because we said for us it's strange. So that's another factor what we are looking at. And, on the other hand, what we are doing is we are sorry. We know the market prices, so we
Right.
know we are monitoring the market prices, and we know that dump prices. How to say? We have a saying which says if there's something that has no cost, it has no value.
Well, there you go. Of course, then there's lack of
Exactly.
sustainability because it's costly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is one of the stages that, for example, we're looking at the costs, what they're offering us, and then immediately we know, okay, when we do this supply audit or supplier audit, we have to look twice or three times.
Okay.
Because something is strange.
And
And
your sources are Asia and South America, correct? Or am I, or maybe I should ask, what are your sources for the wood?
The thing is, it's not so easy. The thing is, we have three production plants in the world where we are producing wood-cased pencils. One of this factory is located in Brazil. The other one is here in Germany, in Stein. And the third one is in Indonesia, in Jakarta.
Indonesia. Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So this means the Brazilian company is supplied approximately to 80-90% with their own wood from their own plantation. Because they are producing for the Latin American market and for North American market. And there the quality demands are a little bit lower than, for example, in Asia. Therefore, they can take the pine wood from their own plantation. In Indonesia, I would say we have the mid quality level. That means they are purchasing there from a supplier different wood species where they produce their pencils from, and let's say this is the mid-level quality that we have in Faber-Castell. Here in Stein, we are producing the highest quality in Germany because this is only feasible here. That means we are supplying we are purchasing all over the world. That means we are getting raw material from currently most of the coming from the United States and from Asia.
Okay. That answers it. That answers all my questions, I think.
So if you have more, just send me an email and I can answer you very quick. It's not a problem.
Okay. I think that really does give us sufficient information. And let me suggest that what we would do is put together our theoretical paper, and we would forward you a copy, of course. And what we will be doing, hopefully, this is of course the technical side, is we'll be using a program called either Microsoft Azure, which is a workbench for the blockchain, or we'll be using another program called Simba Chain to create it's basically to build a database for input, and this is of course something that we're just doing. And then if the theoretical paper matches this, then our work is done. And if Faber-Castell wishes to implement or not, it really does not matter to us at that stage. But it's just consider this a project that the students are doing in that respect. So that's where we are. But I do thank you very much for your time, and on behalf of the students, I'm sure when they listen to this recording, they will very much have appreciated your responses.
Yes, for sure. You're welcome anytime, and sorry for the delay. Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
No, we're still within our scope of time, so we're fine.
Perfect. So, and if you're here in Stein anytime and you're interested in what we're doing, just tell Katharina or send me an email, and you're welcome anytime.
Thank you again for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Goodbye for now. Goodbye.